was born in Ladino, Ohio. I graduated in 1936. I joined Ohio State University and graduated June the 14th, 1942. July the 14th, 1942, I was in Texas taking basic training. Now, I wanted to get into the band. That was my major. There was a general there. His name was General Twaddle. He heard me talk to the band director. He said, "You're not going to get in the band." And I said, "That's my major." He says, "I need a radio operator." So he sent me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for 6 months, and I learned the Morse code and how to operate those radios. In those days, radio had a very limited, it couldn't send very far anyhow. So when I got back from learning the Morse code and all of that, who should be down there but General Twaddle? He looked at me, he said, "You're going to be my driver." So I was assigned to a general in America going to basic training. After a few months, I was shipped overseas. And who should meet me overseas but General Violi? He said, "You're going to be my driver." So I was assigned to drive him all over Europe with General Patton. And how many times you see a general go up to the front line? Rarely. But he wanted to go up to the Rhine River, and he wanted to look across the Rhine River into German territory. So he asked me if I'd drive him up there. So I drove him up there to the Rhine River, and we're looking across the river, and we saw a little glint. There was a church steeple over there, and in that church steeple was a couple of German spotters. And they decided to start shooting shells at us. He said, "Let's get the heck out of here." So we went, I saved, it was just all wrecked up, the town, you know. He's sitting back there bouncing around. I took him away from there. And we never did go back up there. We went all over Europe with Patton. And you couldn't stop Patton unless he ran out of gas. He did that. First thing they told us when we landed there is dig the foxhole. They start shooting artillery. They always has to be 2 people when you dig a foxhole. So they give you half a tent. That's in Paris. Now, Hitler ran out of equipment because we bombed the railroads and all equipment. He decided he's going to have the Battle of the Bulge. The reason for that, the United States supplies were coming in up in Holland someplace. And Hitler wanted to go up and capture that place so he could have some supplies to continue the war. And they were winning the war because it was cloudy. And the planes in England couldn't come and bomb the German stuff. Well, the second week, the sky cleared, and the Americans and the English bombers came over and bombed their tanks and bombed the railroads and bombed everything. So it kind of held them back a little bit. In the meantime, the Russians were making progress also. And interesting enough, I took a break and I went to Paris. And I went up the Eiffel Tower, incidentally. Hitler says destroy that tower, and his soldiers wouldn't destroy it because it was something that was, well, world known, I guess. And I understand, he shot a couple of the soldiers because they wouldn't destroy the tower. Well, I happened to go up that tower. And when I came down, I was talking to a couple of soldiers, and they said, "Where were you from?" I said, "I was from Steubenville, Ohio." They said, "I heard of that place." I said, "What'd you hear about that?" He said, "It was a gambling town, and it was in those days." He said, "Also, there was a place they called Water Street." And I'm going to put this up. and they had houses of ill repute there. And under the bridge, which is still there, they had a lot of gambling places. And Hitler finally discovered that he was going to lose a war. And him and his girlfriend went down one of those deep places that he used for protection. And he finally decided that the war's going to end. So he told his aides, he said that Eva Braun, I think was her name, he poisoned her. He says, I'm going to shoot myself, and I want you to go up out of here and make a deep dig in the ground. And I want you to put gasoline in there. And after I'm dead, I want you to put me in there and set it on fire. He said, I want that to be done because if we captured him, we'd use him as a display of some sort. After the war was over, and they sent us to Mississippi and gave us khaki clothing for the invasion of Japan. And thank God, I'm going to say they dropped that bomb over there. And we never did get to Japan. If we would have gone to Japan, I wouldn't be sitting here now because they were fanatics. They even taught the little kids with sharp sticks, you know, and the women, they taught them to shoot and all of that stuff. And the war ended there. That's a blessing. I was in the Army, in the artillery. 3 years, 3 months, and 10 days I was in the service. I counted them. But I didn't shoot any guns. I have a rifle, but I give it to my grandson. Then I got that sword there, that for bayonet. So there was all kind of rifles laying around, swords. I went down this basement to see if somebody was dead. So I saw this hanging on a wall. Hitler demanded that they have flags, and I yanked it off the wall, put it in my duffel bag, and it ended up in the trunk of my car.
Right here, he's got March 9th. We shoot 200,000 shells.
See, you can still read that. And this is valuable to me. You know, when I showed the students in school, they said, can I touch it? They want to touch his flag. I said, go ahead and touch it. With this one here, too, I had it down at the American Legion. I showed it, and these guys wanted to take a picture with it. So we took a picture with the flag down at the American Legion. You won't believe this. But what the soldiers wanted over there as a souvenir was a pistol they call a P-38. That was a German pistol. But they said if they caught me with a German pistol, they'd put it in my mouth and shoot it. Well, the word got around, if they caught me with a slide, they're going to make me eat it. I had my name here. So I cut my name out of it. Honest to God, this is true. I took my name off of there because I wasn't about to go eating this flag. Well, let me tell you another story now. A general called me. He says, Mr. Violi, you got some medals coming. I says, why now? He said, the medal information was in St. Louis and the building burned down. He said, we found another copy of these medals. He says, if you come to Columbus, we'll present you with the medals. The first thing he said, can you still fit the uniform that you were measured for in 1942? I said, yes. They said, wear it. So I wore it, and they put those medals on it. I decided to go to Ohio State Policeman Bureau and ask if there was a place that needed a band director. And there was a place called MacArthur, Ohio. Smallest county and poorest county in Ohio, which I didn't know. And the lady that was down there was pregnant and they needed a band director. So I went down there and they hired me. And I went down there, his name was Superintendent Potts. I went in the second semester. I went in his office and said, I'm Anthony Violi, and I'm going to be your band director. He said, I know who you are. So I said, show me the band room. He took me in to the gymnasium. And there was girls phys ed here and boys phys ed here, making noise, practicing, you know. And I said, I can't hear you. So he pulled the curtain. I said, I still can't hear you. So I showed me the instruments. He says, we don't have any. Word got around that they're going to have a band, and I was going to be the director. And after the first week there, I had 19 students that wanted to learn. And the parents went in the garages, they went in the attic, they went in cellars. They got these instruments, which were not in good shape. So I learned to repair how to repair instruments. I guess I was destined to be a band director. I started teaching these kids, and I had to play for commencement. And I had the band learned a couple of songs. We played for commencement, and I was very proud for that. So the superintendent and principal says, you're going to have to put a band on the football field. I said, that wasn't part of my deal. He said, that's part of your deal now. So they hired me in the summer. I was a sergeant in the Army too, so I'd get these kids on the field. I'd forward march them to the rear march, right flank, all of that. And I developed a band, and I put them on the football field, and they liked it very much. And my band, I taught them to march. I taught these people not only music, but also how to get along with people. And you don't know me, but the reason I'm saying that is I got a letter, you don't know me, but, and it told it what it was about. I taught this girl in MacArthur. She was an introvert, and I taught her how to meet people, and she went even to the contest. I got this in 2010. You never met me, so don't try to recall the name, but you may recall Della Louise Smith, who played clarinet in your MacArthur band. This would be about 1949, a long time ago, and she is my wife. You could never have guessed the impression you made on her, even to altering her life. To put it kindly, the MacArthur Benton County area was, by today's standard, dirt poor. To be a young girl in a large family in those days would be one who had little reason to think the future could offer an exciting life. The world of music you introduced her was a world apart from the common drab days. She went on immediately to become a pretty good clarinet player. Much more important was that she did win a contest. I would suggest you had similar impact on others in that band. Few would have home situations that were vastly different than those people you overpainted. Anyway, this I got in 2010. This girl was in the band in 1949. Wrote this to me. That's amazing. In 2012, I got another letter from down there. I will not bore you with the details, but only to assure you that the world our place is in has gained much for her having been born and reared. As we all grow older, I calculate you're about 92 now, we look back and wonder if the ride has been worth it. Have I really done anything for which I should be remembered? Certainly you can. I'm sure that Dale is one of the many you've influenced. She often thinks of you. She even still keeps her old clarinet, but hasn't blown it. Only one speculates as to what might have been had you not been involved in her early life. For that, you at least can earn my thanks. Richard Madigan. But I got these kind of letters from a lot of people. 50 years later, that was a girl, her name was Sarah Will. She came to every rehearsal. And when she stood on a sideline, she always stood like this. I looked at her, I said, I'm going to recruit that girl. So I went over to Sarah Will. I said, Sarah Will, I want you to join the band. I said, I'll teach you. I'll give you the horn. She says, I can't do it, Mr. Violi. I says, but I'll spend time with you. And her father was president of the bank, incidentally, Sarah Will. Anyway, she says, I just can't do it. And I said, just why can't you? And she moved her books from here. She's born without an arm. When I looked up, I said, God, what did I do here? And God gave me an answer. I said, Sarah Will, I got just the horn for you, a French horn, because you put your hand in the bell of the French horn. She smiled. I gave her the horn. In 2 weeks, she was in the band. She was an A student. She didn't circulate. And there was a boy there. His last name was Crow, so all I can remember. They got to know each other pretty well. When they graduated, they got married. Now, I'm going to say 8 or 10 years ago, I got a letter from MacArthur, Ohio. It said, Sarah Will passed away. This is 50 years later. Why me? After I got discharged, I applied for a job down at Steubenville High School. I was band director of Steubenville High School. And I developed a very, very good band. We were asked to march at the inaugural parade of John Kennedy. So I took 150 kids, because I went twice to Washington, D.C. and marched in Kennedy's inauguration. He made a remark. Kennedy was a womanizer. I don't know if you knew that. He said he liked the material in the parade, but he said, I especially liked the girl in front of the Steubenville High School band. He said she shook everything, including her baton. Now, when he got killed, President Johnson invited my band back for his inauguration. So the only high school band I ever heard went to 2 inaugurations was my Steubenville High School band. Ohio State has 700 in their alumni band. It started in 1957. There were only 17 people there, and I was one of the 17. Now there's 700 and some. I only missed one reunion. But this is important to me. Drosty's. Get Drosty's letter. I want you to know who Drosty is. Drosty was band director of Ohio State University Band. And we've got to be good friends. But he made a remark that I affected these students, and he also learned from me some of the things to do at Ohio State. Well, who am I? I was told that I'd been selected to the Dottie I at the alumni band in September 22, 19, next year. But why me? There's been 5 people that I know of that dotted the I. Woody Hayes, John Glenn. That's John Glenn's picture there. You see it? And I'm one of the few guys who's got to shake his hand. And they selected me to dot the I. That surprised me, but still. And right now, you maybe heard of Joe Lancer. He owns the rest homes behind the mall. He said, Tony, you're retired now, you're not doing anything. He said, will you help me at Central and Holy Rosary for a couple of weeks? Now, Central and Big Red used to be enemies on a football field. He said, you help me a couple of weeks. I've been donating out there for 18 years, and I'm still donating out there. And I like it because when we went there, they had 18 kids in their band. They have 50 right now. And Joe and I taught every one of them. And I taught them to march, so they know what they're doing now. And so we're proud of those people. In fact, yesterday or the day before, the bishop had a get-together out Central, and he requested that Joe and I go to this program that they had up there. It was Friday, I think. Yeah. So they recognized us and gave us a lot of recognition. And I get a lot of this, you know. And I'm a Methodist. I'm Italian, but I'm a Methodist. Because when we get out of the war and I get down to MacArthur, there was no Catholic church. But next door was a Methodist church. My wife, that's her picture there. Next door was a Methodist church. We went there and we liked what we did. And so we came up here, the Methodist church over under the water tower. We went over there. But it got to the place where there were 30 elderly people. They couldn't support it anymore. So my wife and I went to Wethersville Methodist Church. I volunteered as a choir director. But 2 years ago, I gave it up because I didn't want the responsibility anymore. You know, some days the choir comes, some days they don't. But I'm quite active out there also. I'm a Shriner. I belong to the Scottish Rite. I put on a program called Feast of the Paschal Lamb. It's the story of Jesus when he was on this earth in costume. And I get the music that's appropriate. And Jesus gets up on a platform, does the Ten Commandments, very touchy thing. And I put that on at the Masonic Temple. So that's that. In this past couple of weeks, I went down to the Masonic Temple, got an award, and the Shriners had a meeting out at Land and Land. So I went to both things the same day and got awards and a recognition. And they couldn't believe that I was 99 at the time. So for 20 years, I wrote the articles that the Land and Land put into the newspaper that they put out. So I was quite busy, I guess. I just say the good Lord watched over me and made me live to be 100 years old.